Hello, my name is Austin Smith, and this is my presentation on GMO corn. GMO corn is a corn plant which has been genetically engineered to serve a specific purpose. For example, deter an insect, keep a fungus away, or protect it from herbicide. According to the FDA, GMO corn is genetic engineering is a process that involves identifying the genetic information, or gene, that gives an organism, plant, animal, or microorganism a desired trait, copying that information from the organism that has that trait, inserting that information into the DNA of another organism, then growing the new organism. Now, farmers have been growing GMO corn since the late 90s, so it's nothing new. However, there have been many new developments in recent years that have led the general public and scientists wondering if it's safe. It has promoted detailed and in-depth debates from everyone. Some say it's safe to eat, and others say to stay far away from it. BT corn versus Roundup Ready corn. BT corn is considered safe, stands for Bacillus thuringiensis. These corn plants produce proteins that serve as insecticide for certain insects, such as the European corn borer, which was a huge problem for corn farmers throughout most of the 1900s. BT corn saved farmers millions of dollars in corn throughout the year since they have created it. The other kind of corn is Roundup Ready corn. Now, this one is where it gets a little debatable because it's very debatable whether it's safe or not. It coats the seed and makes it resistant to Roundup weed killer. Farmers spray their corn with Roundup and it won't hurt the corn. It's beneficial for farmers because they don't have to deal with weeds in their fields affecting the growth of their corn. However, most are skeptical whether or not this type of corn is safe. How they're made and production. GMO products are made first by identifying the desired trait they want to utilize. Then scientists copy that trait from an organism that has it. Then that information is placed into the DNA of the corn. Then they grow and develop the corn species. The FDA then tests the product to make sure it's safe if it's intended for consumption. Roundup Ready corn is treated for the herbicide glyphosate. The makeup of this is, I'm gonna need some help on these. 5 anole per, yeah, I'm not trying that. But anyway, that's what it's made up of. Why is Roundup Ready corn bad? Now, this is the debate for a lot of farmers and people who are highly against GMOs. Lots of people believe Roundup Ready corn is bad for a few reasons. For one, it's made to be herbicide resistant, implying herbicide will be applied to the corn you are eating, which makes people uncomfortable, knowing that they're eating corn with a chemical on it. With that, since it's resistant to Roundup, farmers end up using twice as much herbicide than farmers who don't use Roundup Ready corn. Facts about Roundup Ready corn. A study from 2005 found that 87% of soybeans and 26% of corn was Roundup Ready corn and resistant to glyphosate. Roundup Ready corn was first introduced in 1996, so it's been out for about almost 30 years now, not quite. Now, Monsanto, the maker of Roundup Ready corn, has created another better product called Roundup Ready Corn 2. This product kills more type of weeds and has enhanced growth for corn plants, specifically strengthening the roots of the corn. Now, with all this herbicide being sprayed in the Roundup Ready products, of course there are environmental concerns here. Farmers use, on average, 60% more herbicide because they treat their fields more often, just because they can. This herbicide can end up in the creeks, rivers, harming the fish and aquatic life there. This can even have harm for humans because of bioaccumulation. If we eat the fish and the fish are full of toxins from the farmers spraying their fields, we consume all those toxins as well. I know one example around here, like the Monocacy River, there is all kinds of regulations on fish. Like it's only safe to eat 2 fish a year that come out of the Monocacy River, and I'm pretty certain that most of that is because of the runoff from the farms. Not sure, but 2 fish a year being safe to eat is pretty outstanding. There is an alternative to this Roundup Ready corn, and that is BT corn. It is considered to be the safest of the GMO corns in the GMO corn breeds. What it does is once a bug, such as the European corn borer, starts eating it, the insecticide within the genes of the corn start to bind the gut of the bug within minutes. The bug will stop feeding and eventually die of septicemia as bacteria multiply in the blood. What the future of GMO corn products look like? Well, today, GMO crop manufacturers are creating crops with multiple traits instead of just one. Crops such as Roundup Ready corn and BT corn only have one property, such as protecting against one insect or resistance to one herbicide. These new products will have stack traits such as crops with herbicide protection and insect protection. A BT Roundup Ready corn plant could be in the future. In fact, the University of Connecticut said an expansion or modification of these first-generation GMO crop plants is now underway. Biotechnology companies are developing crops that have stack traits, referring to the transformation of target crops with multiple genes. In some cases, herbicide and insect resistance are expressed in the same GMO line, offering farmers the option of using crop lines that combine these traits. This is one example of stacking. However, stacking has also been used to address the issue of genetic resistance of weeds and insect predators. The wide adoption of GMO crops with insect and weed resistance in the U.S. has inevitably led to the development of genetic resistance by target organisms, weeds, and insect predators. Biotechnology companies are developing GMO lines that express, for example, a number of different variations in the gene that encodes the protein that attacks insects for feeding on the GMO plant. This sums up pretty well as to what biotech scientists are currently working on when it comes to the development of new technologies within the seed industry. Now, there are a couple GMO corn companies, but the majority of the corn in the US are from Bayer and Corteva. Bayer now owns Monsanto, which we know makes Roundup Ready corn. They acquired Monsanto in 2018 and developing and producing Roundup Ready corn 2 ever since. Bayer is the largest seed producer in the US and also the maker of aspirin. Corteva. Corteva is another company that specializes in GMO corn and soybeans. However, instead of making herbicide-resistant corns, they mainly make BT corn, which is thought of by most to be better for us and the environment than herbicide-resistant corn. I personally really like Corteva as a company, and I own a few shares of their stock as well. I believe they are the leading innovator in crops across the globe. Ethical concerns. There are some ethical concerns with herbicide-resistant corn seeds, primarily. The main ethical concern with herbicide-resistant seed varieties such as Roundup Ready corn is that their purpose they serve is for farmers to coat their fields with herbicide. This means the seeds are getting coated with herbicide before you ingest it, as well as a gene within the corn has been altered to tolerate heavy doses of herbicide. This leads farmers to spray their field with 60% more herbicide than farmers that don't use this type of corn. Some argue that this seed variety could be useful for feeding cows and other animals. However, it would actually be worse because of biomagnification. This would mean for us consuming more in the long run if it were the case. Ethical concerns with BT corn. Now, BT corn, the main ethical concern with it is its effects on insects aren't only on the European corn borer. It's also toxic to the monarch butterflies, which is why some people are against it because monarch butterflies are protected. Another concern is that the product is still a GMO. Lots of people are scared to eat GMOs, despite BT corn having no known health effects on humans in the 20 couple years that it's been around. Current events. A current event going on now is in Mexico, and they're trying to limit the imports of GMO corn. However, the US only wants to sell them GMO corn instead of non-GMO corn. Many farmers are having an issue with this in the US and Mexico because if they want to buy non-GMO corn, they should be able to. A quote from Reuters says, I'm all for free and fair trade, said Fred Huddleston, who owns GM corn and soybeans in Yale, Illinois. They get to the point they're pushing somebody to buy something they don't want, then I have concerns about that. This farmer says the US has no right restricting what Mexico can and can't buy from the US. especially because Mexico is the largest buyer of U.S. corn. They spend about $5 billion annually buying corn from the U.S. Not having this money coming into the economy would be a huge blow for the U.S. In my opinion, I think that the U.S. should sell them whatever they want. And in this case, Mexico wants more non-GMO corn. My thoughts. In my opinion, I believe most seed companies want the best for the farmer and the consumer, so they develop seeds beneficial for both. For example, Roundup Ready corn is better for the farmer, and BT corn benefits both the farmer and the consumer. I believe Roundup Ready corn is not good for the environment, and it should only be seen in small scales less than an acre per farm. This is to limit the use of herbicides and their environmental applications such as the runoff into the fields, rivers, which harms aquatic life. In places where the European corn borer inhabit, I think BT corn would be a good choice for farmers. It has been proven safe for humans and has been tested for about 20 years. As someone who grows corn, having a BT corn variety might be something I consider personally. Countless times I have shocked an ear of corn just to find a few wormholes in it, most likely from the European corn borer. However, in places the monarch butterfly inhabit, I believe people should think twice if the population of monarch butterflies would be in danger. If there's a plethora of monarchs, I would say it should be fine. Someone worried about the damage this corn can do to butterflies can plant milkweed for them to counter the ill effects the BT corn variety has on the monarchs, since the monarchs thrive on milkweed and make their chrysalises on them. This is something I personally do. My family's always been big into gardening, so we would plant milkweed back away from our garden. That way the monarch butterflies have a nice place to make their chrysalises. And here are my references, page 1 of references, and page 2 of references. Thank you.